If you run an event, you need to be using video, and here's why. Hi, I'm Rowan from South Point Films. We work at a lot of commercial events, from corporate conferences to major music festivals and everything in between. And over the past decade or so, we've seen all of the different ways that event organisers are using video to promote, capture and enhance the event experience, and market their events in the future. In this video, I'm going to share some of the best practices we've seen and give you some ideas for how you can use video alongside your events. If your job involves organising commercial events, this one is for you. Let's begin by talking about how you can use video to promote your events, starting with the big one, the highlights video. Highlights videos are designed to showcase all of the key moments from your event, laying it out in a glossy, high-impact reel that captures all of the buzz and excitement from the day. In fact, that's why it's called a highlights video, because it contains all of the highlights. In the context of your event marketing, the highlights video is your hero video for promoting your next event. It should remind your attendees of what a great time they had, encouraging them to book in again for the next one. Importantly, it should also give a serious case of FOMO to anyone who didn't attend. It should show the world how wonderful the experience was and what a great time your guests had, which, if done well, will drive registrations from people who haven't attended before. In terms of when to release your highlights video, my suggestion is to get the highlights out as quickly as possible after the event. In fact, we've worked with events where we've already had the highlights video ready in the delegates' inboxes the next day, or we've shown a highlights reel on big screens at the very end of the event itself. This can make a huge impact on your guests. But even with support of an on-site editor or replay operator, producing a polished highlights video at this sort of speed can be challenging. High-quality creative video editing takes time, so what we do for some of our clients is produce a mini highlights video that can go out straight away, and then spend some time post-event working on a more detailed, higher impact after movie that can be released in the weeks or months after. This can be timed strategically. You could release the after movie alongside the opening of pre-orders for your next event, drawing attention to your early bird sales. So a two-pronged approach can work really well too. If you haven't already seen it, you should check out our 2026 video strategy guide that we released earlier this year. It's got loads of great advice in it and talks about how you can use video in different ways to promote your business. Most of this advice is transferable to marketing your events. In that video, I spoke about fire hose content, the sort of videos that get pushed out to social media to keep your brand top of mind for your followers. This is something that you can easily build into the video capture on your event day, starting with vox pops and interviews. One of the simplest ways to gather fire hose content is through interviews and vox pops with the various people at your event. Whether your event is a corporate conference or a music festival, there'll be so many opportunities to get a 30 to 60 second soundbite with someone who has an interesting perspective to share. For corporate events, I'd suggest pulling aside the presenters and asking them to share a few takeaways from their talks. I'd also interview any of your staff who are at the event to get interesting insights from them too. This is great for building thought leadership. And of course, it always helps to get a handful of testimonials from any delegates who have something positive to say about your event or business. A single day of media capture can produce months of material that can be scheduled alongside your other comms on social media. For commercial events such as music festivals, you've also got plenty of opportunities to capture vox pops and interviews at your event too. You can interview attendees for customer testimonial content. You can interview performers and other acts which might get cross-posted and put in front of their own fans, giving you some great brand exposure. And you can also record interviews with people around the site, like your team and vendors, to give people a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to run your event. These peeks behind the curtain can be fascinating watch and can be used to softly promote your event's values like sustainability. This can be tied to some of the more functional uses of video that I'll talk about later, but recording and sharing the content of your event can be hugely beneficial to your event from a marketing perspective. For full-length content like presentations, these videos can be shared online to demonstrate the caliber of content at your event, which can encourage people to book in for your next one. You only need to look at well-known examples like TED to see how this strategy plays out. They've built their entire business around recording and sharing thoughtful, interesting full-length presentations captured at their conferences. Sharing these videos publicly can be a tremendous brand-building exercise for your event, assuming your event is open to the public. If you'd rather keep your event content a little closer to your chest, you could instead use your full-length recordings as a lead generation tool. For example, you could instead consider providing access to the full sessions in exchange for an email address or follow on social media. This strategy helps you build a targetable mailing list or social following, which gives you a more measurable return on your video content and a tool that you can use for promoting your event in the future. Either approach can work well, but it depends on the needs of your business. Of course, you might not want to share the full recordings at all, and that's fine. Sometimes it's not even contractually allowed with your performers, but that doesn't mean that a full recording can't be beneficial. In this case, instead of sharing full-length videos, consider repurposing them into a series of shorter videos instead, which is a great way to pad out your content calendar. Let's say your event is a conference that has 8 presentations from industry leaders. You could take those 8 presentation recordings and turn them into 40 short excerpts for social media. This would give you almost a year's worth of social media content, assuming you posted one a week. That's tremendous value, and you can even use modern AI tools to help you work out which sections of each recording to share online. So finding suitable content within the long-form video isn't even that big of a task as it was a few years ago. And if you want the best news, sometimes these full-length videos are a byproduct of something you might be paying for anyway, like a live stream or image magnification service, which we'll get onto in a minute or two. Of course, these aren't the only types of video that you can use to promote your events. If you check out our 2026 marketing strategy video, we share some more ideas for video content that you can make for your business, all of which can be used to promote your events. For example, using user-generated content and employee-generated content and creating little behind-the-scenes reels that you could share on social media. This sort of content is great for giving followers a glimpse of what you're working on. For big events in particular, attendees love seeing the site build and show prep. It gets them hyped up for the day when they can finally arrive at the venue and walk through the doors themselves. In addition to being used for marketing, video can also be used functionally to enhance your event, and here are some ideas. An opening film is sort of like the inverse of a highlights video. Whereas a highlights video captures the excitement and buzz of your event, an opening film sets the tone for what's coming. Opening films are usually a couple of minutes long and touch on key themes from the event. For example, an opening video for a conference focused on sustainability might start with a 3-minute montage of climate change footage, followed by an uplifting message about the positive changes we're making to curb its effects. These opening films can be filmed, but some are also animated. In fact, animation can be a really powerful option, as it can explain more complex or abstract ideas easily. You can also get really creative with your opening film, being constrained only really by your budget. So if you're looking for a punchy opening film for your event, it's something that we can help with. Get in touch if you'd like some support with making one of these. Next on my list of functional video for events is image magnification, or IMAG for short. This is where we use cameras to broadcast a live camera feed to mainly LED screens, but also TVs and projectors around your venue. Think of the big screens next to the stage at a music festival or relay screens in a breakout room at a conference. If you have a large event with hundreds or thousands of guests, IMAG is a must, especially if the activities on stage are detailed and intricate, like product or medical demonstrations. Someone sitting 50 meters away at the back of the room will have no chance of seeing what's happening otherwise. For corporate events, the camera feed can also be integrated with PowerPoint slides as a picture-in-picture, so that the audience isn't missing out on seeing the slide detail by having a camera feed too. It can be super versatile, at least when we're in charge of the feed anyway. And if you're recording the output of the IMAG feed, you can take those recordings and use them for your event marketing later on without any additional cost, as I mentioned earlier, which is a hidden benefit to deploying this service. Finally, my third functional use for video at events is live streaming. If you're running a corporate event in particular, you're missing a trick by not live streaming it. With live streaming, you can expand the reach of your event to an audience around the entire globe, not just the one that's in the venue. I've been banging the drum for live streaming corporate events since 2014, and truthfully, it was hard to get traditional event organisers to see the value back then. But it's not 2014 anymore, it's 2026, and you really should be considering a stream for your event in this day and age. We're moving past the point of it being a nice to have. Here's my logic. Firstly, it lets people attend your event without physically being there in person. By using live streaming technology to bridge an in-person venue with an online audience, you can give everyone equal access to the event, in person and online. Your online audience can still participate by asking questions and taking part in things like polls, and it's even possible to run breakout sessions with your online audience using some virtual event platforms, so they still get some of the networking benefits. This makes live streaming brilliant for accessibility. It opens a door to people with all kinds of accessibility needs and also lets people with clashing work or domestic commitments take part around the other things that they have going on, which might otherwise stop them from attending at all. When it comes to event accessibility, I think most event organisers are really good nowadays at making sure in-venue accessibility is covered, whether it's providing seating space for wheelchair users or designating a quiet room on site. But it can feel like accessibility considerations stop at the door of the venue. And that's not a dig at any individual event or organiser, of course, just an observation about the industry at large. And that's why, in my opinion, live streaming's a big win on the accessibility front. Secondly, live streaming is great for the environment. Instead of bringing everyone together to one place, which can have a massive carbon impact, live streaming lets some of your far-flung attendees tune in remotely, eliminating their travel emissions. Many event organisers tout their environmental credentials, but wooden cutlery and paper straws aren't going to make a dent when everyone has to travel tens, hundreds or thousands of miles to a single place just to take part, putting emissions into our atmosphere in the process. Of course, I'm not suggesting that there's no value in having people attend in person. Sometimes it's worth it. After all, we tried doing fully virtual events at one point, and there's a reason we all went back to going in person. But for people who are particularly environmentally conscious or have carbon accounting targets that their company needs to meet, a live stream still allows those people to take part. It sort of comes back to accessibility again, especially when you consider that, relatedly, travel costs are an access barrier too. Finally, and importantly, my last benefit for live streaming is that it provides contingency. Life gets in the way sometimes, that's a fact, which means that your audience can still take part if something gets in the way. But it can also help your presenters too, since we can provide dial-in options for anyone who needs to deliver a presentation remotely. We were once working on an event where one of the key presenters couldn't make it to London at the last minute due to a travel issue from Dublin. But instead of the presenter being a no-show, which would have been extremely disappointing, we were able to bring them in online. The show went on and everyone was happy. As another example, we also worked on an event where we brought in researchers from Antarctica to deliver a remote presentation. There's no way that they would have been able to attend in person. So using live streaming technology, we were able to increase the calibre of presentations at that event. So as you can tell, I think live streaming is super valuable, especially for corporate events. Now I know there's a cost to bringing in a live streaming setup, but it also shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to get a functional live stream for your event either. There are so many tech options now, which means that live streaming can scale from large multi-camera broadcasts down to a simple camera and slide streaming setup. I know that my team and I here at Southpoint Films can provide a single camera operator with a couple of remote controlled PTZ cameras and produce a really high quality live stream for clients who are on tighter budgets. It doesn't require a full broadcast crew anymore. Right, I've had my soapbox moment. As you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about the different ways that event organisers can use video production to enhance their events. There's so much you can do with video to improve the experience for guests and to improve your marketing that you'd be silly not to be considering it. My team and I love helping our clients to use video within their events. So if you have an upcoming event and want to explore how video can support your goals, we'd love to start a conversation. Feel free to get in touch to discuss your ideas. Otherwise, I'd love to hear your thoughts on event video and the topics I've discussed down in the comments. Also, if you want more content like this, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified when we upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.